And we're live!
Ooh.
Hey, everybody. Sorry, we're running a little behind, but that is okay. We have all the guys here with us, which is why we wanted to hang out a little bit first and make sure that we had everybody on board before going live. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of hang out, build a little bit of an audience, and everyone is now jumping in the chat. So you guys
I better open that up.
Yeah, you might want to do that, Pat. So the link that I sent the three of you guys, if you go on the YouTube link, there's a live chat that pops up. We'll ask questions that come in from the community as they start jumping in. We're already at 9 viewers.
At least the best we can do, anyway.
9 viewers.
I know. Well,
we just started.
We just started, Pat. Jeez, give it a second. All right, cool. I got the alert on my watch, so we must be live. All right, very good.
Yeah, we're live.
We're live.
Cool.
Oh man, turning the audio up on the YouTube channel is very confusing.
Yes.
Don't do that.
You may want
that thing.
You might want to mute that.
They have like a small aneurysm.
That's okay. I've had 3, so you're all good. So. You'll still fit right in.
It just makes you a little more numb each time. It's all good.
Now, yeah, I think it twigged something. Knocked a piece of resin loose.
There you go. Wait, was that a stitch I felt unraveling? Oh, that's fun. All right, we're at 13. Sorry, guys, we are running a little late. We are just getting the party started. Everybody is jumping in. Ben, what are you telling me that I need to not do? He's killing me already. Ben Harbour is our resident EDF expert and Boeing engineer.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
He's a good dude.
We got a lot of good people in here.
He's smart, too.
Yeah, wicked smart. He's smarter than us, that's for damn sure.
Well, that didn't take much for me.
So, who's kicking off this one?
Mike, do you want to do it?
I can kick it off. Yeah, that's fine because I do want to talk about something. Do we want to let it build a little more, or do we want to go ahead and get started, guys?
You know what? Let's go ahead and get started because I have a feeling that the people who are watching right now probably we will get a bigger audience as it goes out more. So I think we're good to go.
Okay, do you want to count down or what?
Yeah, if I could have 5 seconds of baseline silence starting now. All right, you're good. Go for it, Mikey.
Okay, everybody. Welcome to episode 38 of the Flight Test Community Podcast. We've got some really great people in with us today. We've got Jonathan Davis, which is also Skitzo, which you see right here.
Wait. Did you almost forget their name?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't sure which way I was going first. You got to remember, I'm old, okay?
That's a great start, Mike. We're off to a winning
we've got
start.
A really awesome cast.
As I sit here and go, which side do I start at? I don't even know.
Is it the left? Is it the which way are we going? Are we doing oldest to youngest, or left to right?
Yeah, you know.
Right, yeah. That will make me lost.
All right, I'm done.
You're going to start
I'm
with the
not
guy
talking
in the
anymore.
shirt.
All right, continuing from where Mike left off. Here, Mike, your brain is over there. Just go find it real quick.
It's just not a good day for me.
Right? We love you. We love you.
It's a rough one for all of us, buddy.
So we have John Davis, a.k.a. Skitzo, joining us. We have Kevin Daughtry. Is that how you pronounce it, Kevin?
Artie, that's fine.
Perfect.
We'll
keep
Daughtry.
it. A.k.a. It's the British accent. You have to forgive me. I can't do good Irish.
Yeah, he says solder.
Yes, exactly. That's the right pronunciation. Anyway, we have Kevin Daughtry, a.k.a. Stingy Swarm, and we have Travis Sampson, a.k.a. Gapit.
Hello.
So welcome,
guys.
Yeah. I'm Joel, a.k.a. Baby Brit, and we got Pat somewhere in there. We almost lost him due to Pennsylvania internet problems, but we got him back, so that's good.
For now.
For now.
For
Yeah,
now.
he'll probably leave again.
Anyway,
But
so thank you guys all for joining us. Tonight is especially important that you guys will join us. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Mike for a very, very special announcement.
yeah, first thing I want to do is say we're dedicating this show to Michael Crash Hancock. Michael lost his battle with cancer this morning, and he has been such an ambassador to this RC community, whether it be planes, quads, CNC, 3D printing, you name it. This guy's been into all of it and has just brought a ton of people into the hobby. If it wouldn't have been for him, we wouldn't be here sitting here today with the likes of Gapit, Stinger Swarm, and Skitzo. And I wouldn't have the friends that I have now because of him. So I just wanted to dedicate this show to him and his family. I know his family's hurting right now, as the rest of the RC community is. And we just wanted to say, Michael, thank you, and blue skies and Godspeed, brother. We love you. We miss you. And we'll continue to miss you, but we will see you again, brother.
Yeah.
Take care.
Absolutely, 100%.
So that's all I wanted to say. So
no,
I love that guy.
Very kind words, Mike. And yeah, all of us got the opportunity to meet Mike at Flite Fest East this year. And we got the opportunity to press flesh, as he liked to say. And see, and the funniest thing is, and he mentioned it in his follow-up for Flite Fest. He mentioned it was really entertaining meeting someone who was shorter than Lane's stare. And I will never forget the moment that we did meet. And staring up at this 6'6" giant guy.
He was a big man.
He was a big dude.
He was a big man.
One heck of a human being, and he will be greatly missed. And rightly so that we dedicate this show to Mike. Just so that everybody is aware, there is a couple of things that we want to mention on that. If you guys would like to show some dedication to Crash, we have an amazing caricature that was just completed by our good buddy Tim Michael. So that caricature, if you go to Tim's page, you can set that as your on Facebook. Yep, you can go ahead and set that as your profile pic. Or alternatively, we just as a podcast released a Facebook frame. So that if you guys would like to show solidarity to Mike and his family, that frame you can either find personally on my page, or if in the frame section of your profile picture, you can search Crash, CRASH, and you'll find it in there as well.
Yep.
But we love you, brother, and definitely blue skies. All right. So
all right, enough of the sad stuff. I know Mike, and I know he would want us to be happy and move on and talk about RC. So we got a couple of things I know that Joel does want to talk about.
Yes, I'm super excited. So the three gentlemen who are joining us, do you guys know a kid by the name of Peter Schriepel?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I know Kevin does.
Yeah, so Peter is the inner child that we all wish we were. And he is a crazy inventor on YouTube. We had him on the show last week. You'll be able to catch episode 37 on that. Peter actually got airborne. So congratulations, Peter.
Let's give that
round
boy
of
a hand.
applause for Peter getting his. So just to fill everyone who doesn't know, Peter Schriepel is a mad scientist who was building an ultralight in his basement. And
not only building an ultralight in his basement, but he's doing it out of Lowe's foam.
Yep, foam. It was inflated polystyrene is what he's using on the wings. He's using spruce. He's using goodness knows what else. He's fiberglass, the whole thing. But the trouble is he needs more power. He actually didn't have enough power to get completely off the ground. So he's currently working on a better power system. And Peter, if you need anything from the community, please let us know. We are here to support you in any way that we can. All right.
Yeah.
So
I believe an early prototype of that was called the cardboard coffin, and I've never heard a better name for a plane in my life.
So
That's excellent.
So Kevin, you're an airline pilot. Obviously, you've got a few hours under your belt. Have you seen his YouTube videos on the build of this plane?
Actually, I have. I'm a subscriber to his YouTube channel, but I haven't seen videos on the build of this plane. I've talked to him about it, but my YouTube viewing habits get left behind sometimes. So no, I haven't seen this.
I was just wondering what your thoughts would be about this Home Depot / Lowe's DIY ultralight basement project.
I mean, I've seen Peter's projects, and oh man, I got such mixed feelings. Part of me is like, I'd get in a heartbeat, and part of me is like, oh, let's just watch him go fly.
Yeah,
let's just watch from the ground.
I'm with those two on that. Yeah, I'll watch from the ground at a distance, knowing Peter's past history, especially with pyrotechnics.
Yes.
So yeah, we wish you all the best of luck getting fully airborne, Peter. And as I said, if you need anything from us at all, please let us know. My next point is completely irrelevant because we actually do have a couple of voicemails. I'm very pleased. So first of all, I have to say a big thank you to Gapit for the use for the technology behind the voicemail system that we borrowed from your podcast. So thank you, sir.
I did invent Google Voice. That's my project. You're welcome.
Well, good job.
Thanks.
I have to say thank you very much for borrowing that technology. We have had several voicemails in. However, I'm going to borrow something else from you, Gap. I'm going to gripe for a minute. And no one who left us a voicemail left us their name.
Yeah, nobody said who they were.
Oh.
So let's make an effort, guys. If you're going to leave us a voicemail, will you please leave your either name, screen name, or where you're from so that we can give you proper recognition for the voicemails that you leave us? Thank you.
You know, Google Voice has their phone number. You can just call them back.
Yeah, we could do that, but that requires effort that we're not quite willing to put in.
Well, okay. Joel says it requires effort, but let's be honest, none of us really thought of that, did we?
Actually, I did.
Actually,
knowledge.
Yes. So the funny thing is, yes, we can see your numbers, so we can roughly guesstimate your area code. But for example, I technically am in Orlando, which is the 321 area code, but I have like a 407 number that I have access to. So, yeah, guys, please let us know who you are and where you're from if you're leaving us a voicemail. Which leads me directly onto the next thing, which is going to be playing the very first voicemail that we have. So give me just a moment. I will play it.
Hey, guys, I like your show. I listen to RC After Hours all the time and think your show is really funny.
So, come back. There it
I'm
goes.
going to guess something.
It's thinking. Freezing.
It's a fan.
I'm going to guess that was a Ron Caglione boy.
Yes, we have suspicions.
No, we don't know. We don't know this for sure.
Yeah, I don't know this for sure, but I'm believing.
Yes, we suspect that based on the area code number and the age of which the person who's leaving the voicemail is speaking, we believe that Chris Roncaglione and C have had way too much beer already, apparently.
Not enough.
Yeah, no, there's never enough. So Chris, would you own up to leaving us a voicemail via your child, please?
And if it so happens that this young child who called in and complimented us and perhaps called us RC After Hours too, he might be a little confused, but we'll take the credit anyway.
Yes.
If you actually aren't Chris Roncaglione's child, we are sorry for accusing Chris of putting you up to this. But if you are Chris Roncaglione's child, just pass this along to Chris. we love the RC After Hours podcast, and they're great guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yep.
one other thing, please leave us your name next time so we can properly give you credit once again. And guys, if you do wish to leave us a voicemail, the voicemail number is 802-465-FTCC. Now, I have to legally also tell you that this is not a toll-free number and that messaging rates and pricing may apply. It is Google Voice, so...
You have to say that? Because I didn't know that. We've been doing this for like 40 episodes.
Yeah, it technically counts. It technically counts against your minutes, but whatever.
Wait. So Gapit, you've been violating FCC rules this whole time?
Apparently, I guess so. Yeah.
Oh, I can't believe anybody in this room would violate FCC rules at any time, right?
Never dream of it, right?
Hang on a minute. Let me hide these quads.
the fine will come down any second now.
Don't check my left sock.
Just start a GoFundMe and we'll help you out, bro.
Exactly.
There you go.
Oh, good Lord. So, guys, yeah, feel free to leave us a voicemail. It's, once again, 802-465-FTCC. That's 8233 if you don't know what FTCC is. If you have a modern cell phone, come on, guys, get with the program. Otherwise, let's move on to item number 4. I think this is actually best left to the two who were on the show that this is in reference to. Mike, Pat.
What are you talking about? Oh, the Rascal CNC. Yes.
No, no.
Oh, hang on.
Well, I'm looking at it going, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So, a couple of weeks ago, well, about a month ago now, we actually had some guys on for the Rascal CNC. It's actually, the plan for that is going to be released with all the lists of the parts and everything on November 1st. So go out there and check it out. Go out to the Flite Test forums. Mm-hmm. It's all out there, and they're all going to be released on the 1st. So make sure you get that done, because I'm telling you, these guys did a lot of work, and they got some really good stuff there. So the Rascal will be released on November 1st.
Yep. And for those who don't know, that is the foam board / everything else CNC / laser machine that is available. You guys can find I think they're going to be setting up a Facebook page and all that fun stuff. But keep your eye on that, and we will be super excited to get that information out to you as soon as we get it. Last item, and this is promised, this is the last item before we get into our finally getting into interviews with our guests. We would like to all congratulate our good friend Tucker Gott in the completion and first place prize of the Icarus race. He managed to complete the 1,000-mile journey in only 4.5 days. I'm still reeling as to how he managed to pull that off, considering that he had a broken paramotor in the process. But yeah, Tucker Gott managed to get done in 4.5 days for the Icarus race. So another past guest you can listen to, I believe that's episode 32. And big congratulations to Tucker, and look forward to seeing you. Hopefully you'll be down here this week at Flight Fest South. All right.
Absolutely.
Anything else before moving on? Finally, I'm sure these guys are like, what the heck are these guys on about?
No, that's enough. Okay, guys, you were like totally the lost leaders, the store advertising something like this 80-inch TV for $199, but there's only one of them. So that was totally what you guys just were for us. So thank you.
I feel like I got catfish.
a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah, so the show's over. We're done. We're
done.
You're welcome. A piece of meat.
Thanks for joining us, guys. Please, I'm just kidding. Don't go anywhere.
Just kidding.
It's okay if I just put the cat up here and walk away.
Yes, because I can do the same. But anyway, in all seriousness, guys, first of all, I need to gush for a moment because the three gentlemen that we have sitting in front of us are probably some of the biggest leaders in the FPV community. Starting with Skitzo, being one of the early innovators of getting out there with his own brand of motors, working with Luminaire, having a frame belt Stingy, the master of all things power loop, and tight gaps, and running around all of those dank office parks that we see all around Atlanta. This is Orlando. See what I did there? And Gap.
And I'm the old one.
Yeah, really. And Gap for the incredible footage that you do long range. You're working with X-Hover right now on your own frame of your own, being a leader with the FPV community, also having your own podcast, the FPV Show, which I love listening to. I'm a huge fan. I still haven't called the voicemail line yet. I'm sorry. I need to get better at that.
Well, you have to be able to beat Bot Grinder.
Yeah, that's very true.
Also, it's not free to call it. It's not toll free, so it may affect your
Rates may apply.
rates may apply.
But guys, seriously, we know that it's time out of your day to come hang out with us and for the community. So thank you very much for joining us. And we'll kind of kick this discussion off on a really light note, just to get things started. So for each of you guys, we'll start with Kevin. How long have you been in the hobby, and what got you into FPV?
Okay, I got into the hobby like I gotta look at my watch. No, I got into the hobby around 2015. About this time of year, a friend of mine was actually really getting into the flight test videos and wanted to build some RC airplanes. And his fiance asked me to watch some of the videos to figure out what she should buy him for his birthday. So I started watching flight test videos, just trying to look for presents for a friend of mine, and then got hooked. Started building some of the foam board planes with him and flying that. And then I saw, Alex on the show flying FPV all of them flying FPV all the time. I'm like, what's this? I started putting FPV gear on planes, and then saw the oh man, what's the French racing guys videos?
Argonet, right?
Argonet, yeah, Argonet races. And I was like, holy crap! Started looking up mini quad videos, saw Sharpoo. Got a mini quad, started flying, met Skitzo, and that was then it was off to the races.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Gap, I know you have a slightly different story.
Yeah.
I'm just eating dinner. I'm sorry.
Oh, you are totally fine.
Is it vegetarian? It better be. It's a vegetarian NPG show. I started
I'm
flying.
legit eating Korean barbecue.
Oh,
boy.
okay. Mic drop. We're done.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
So good.
Yeah.
I started flying in February of 2016. I was like actively just looking for a hobby. I wasn't into RC stuff at all before that. Like I had a couple of those like helicopters you buy at the mall. They're like $20. But I needed something to do, and so I was like just on Google looking at crap to do, and I saw that French video, and I was like, that looks like fun, and so I just started flying, and that was like a year and a half ago. So yeah. Other than that, like, and now it's making me interested in aviation. Like a lot of guys come from aviation interest into RC, and I'm like the opposite. Now I think planes are cool because I fly mini quads, and I was not interested before at all.
Yeah, I remember hearing that story, and I always thought, how interesting. It's almost like completely the reverse of most of us, because I was obsessed with aviation before I even got into FPV. And it's really interesting hearing the other side coming in completely not knowing anything at all. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of just fell into it. And I'm glad I did, because it's really fun.
And John, you last but by no means least.
I'm similar to Gapit. I didn't have any interest in aviation at all when I started, but I come from a software engineering background, so I worked in video games for quite a number of years. And I remember I was also doing short horror films too, so I'm into film. And I was looking for a drone to do an aerial shot for one of my scenes. And I found the DJI Phantom Vision Plus or something. I don't know if you guys know what that one was.
Oh, the old school one.
Yeah, and I bought that, and then I got obsessed with I am with any technology piece, and I started obsessively YouTubing like drone stuff, and then I came across Metal Danny ripping through the forest, going like Mach 9, and I was just like, and then I literally Craigslist the Phantom the next day and bought an X-Hover. I bought an X-Hover MXP 230 on 3S, and I was just like, that was it. Like I never looked back.
Back in the day, these guys, right?
But I eventually graduated to a blackout.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's how old
there
school.
you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So that was original right there. The blackouts.
OG, man.
Or just old.
Well, that's me.
OG is the cool way of saying old as hell.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's been Mike.
All right,
Yeah.
so here we'll switch it up to more open forums. So when starting out, how did you guys like start out, and what kind of got you to kind of the level of where you are today? What are some interesting tips and tricks that where you guys started and where you are now?
Is that for everyone or?
Yeah, that's open forum. So whoever wants to start.
For me, the biggest leg up that I had was getting to hang out with Skitzo, John, and Steele. So I had like two good friends fairly early on that were a much higher skill level. So it just set my expectations of what I would be capable of way higher. It wasn't like I'm just assuming that I'm going to be putzing around an empty field forever. I'm like, no, I got to hang with these guys. So I just had to step it up and like kind of wanted to try stuff to impress my friends. So it's like, well, I can't, roll as accurate as Steel or fly as smooth as Skitzo. So let's just try something crazy that they won't even think of trying.
and that still happens today.
Yeah.
I guess when I was starting out, the things that I do differently than a lot of people did starting out was I never flew with anybody because no one around me flew. And so the way I kind of learned was from myself. And so I was pretty religious. I still am about reviewing footage. I watch all the flights I make like several times. And I think there's something to that because it kind of forces you to find the errors. And I think in some ways, especially when you're first starting out, like reviewing footage in a mindful way is almost as good as stick time because you can kind of visualize what's happening and then think about what would solve that on the next time. That, and then for the first like 6 months, I made it like a rule that I had to fly at sunrise, like before work every day. And so I would get up, and even if it was just one pack, I would get up and fly at sunrise because sunrise is pretty, and you always have time in the morning if you just wake up earlier, and no one's around anywhere, especially here on the island at sunrise. So I have like the whole place to myself between 6:30 and 8 a.m. So those are my hot tips.
Yeah, and
now, where are you? You said on the island. Where are you at?
I live on Bainbridge Island. It's like a 30-minute ferry ride from Seattle. It's 8 miles due west of Seattle.
So what you're saying is nobody's there.
There's like 30,000 people on the island.
I'm just joking.
It's just me and my dog.
No. The only danger is hitting my dog.
I was gonna say she's in every flight video too, for the most part. So yeah.
No, I would say the single most important thing is finding a good group of friends or even a couple guys that are equally motivated because you have like just like Kevin was saying earlier, you have like friendly competition to push each other. I don't think me, Kevin, or Steele would be where we are today without each other. And it's very important. And if you guys don't have friends that are doing FPV, I'm sure there's like local communities that you can join. And we started one a long time ago and had our own little like meetup, and we met people, and it just kind of grew from there. And so if you don't have one, think about starting one, So
I think that's a good idea. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I know, Gap, you have some rather strong feelings about flying with people as well.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like I come off like an asshole about that. It's not that I don't like people. I think people are great. It's that I can't concentrate. Like I came up flying by myself, and so if I'm flying with people, I just can't focus. And so I like when I'm in the air, I try to shield the world out as much as I can. I like put my hood on. I turn everything off, and I just try to completely zone out. And it's so easy for me to get sucked out of that and like back into my actual body, instead of on the quad. That just because I learned that way. And so if somebody starts talking to me when I'm flying, it's like waking up from a dream, and then I just fly like garbage because of it. So it's not that I don't like people. It's that I fly like garbage with people.
Hey, how high can that go?
Did you build it?
Hey.
Can I try it?
How much does that cost?
Yeah.
How long can you fly?
Not very much longer. We keep talking.
You're just like, go away.
Can you see into that window over there?
It's like, all right, this is getting kind of creepy. Are you saying that would break your flow? Is that what you're saying?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that if somebody wanted me to go through their window, I don't know. Depends on the window.
Can you see if my wife's cheating on me? Yeah.
For a fee, yes.
I totally get it, though. When I first started, I actually kind of preferred to fly alone, mainly because I was embarrassed of my skill level. But secondly, I didn't understand how like the video channels worked, and like, you know, I didn't understand. I'd just like plug up and someone would crash. And just like, there's like different etiquette you have to kind of adapt to when you're used to flying by yourself. So.
Oh, 100%. A good example on my side was I was flying with, you guys probably know him, Tim Michael. He's really big in the community for caricatures. When Tim and I first started flying, I was flying on 200 milliwatt on a Fox Seer. First of all, bad step using a Fox Seer. But second of all, he was blasting at 600 milliwatt because he'd been so used to just flying around on his own that he had to bring his power down just so that we could fly together. So I completely understand the desire and the need to fly with other people just to learn that respect level of flying with other people. But also, I'm really social when it comes to flying. I like flying with people. I need the other people's flying to kind of motivate me to fly better. I think the good example was 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was flying over at a field called Trosses with Navahawk. You guys may know him. He's big in the racing scene, and I know Stingy, you flew him on a plane.
Yes.
About a year ago now, it must have been. But yeah, his skill level is really significantly higher than mine. He's big in the racing scene, and this other guy who we were flying with as well, and his skill level was far superior to mine. But it just kept pushing me to fly better, and I totally empathize with that sentiment. So here's the real kicker: did you guys all start immediately in air mode, or was there a little bit of horizon and stability mode when you guys first got in?
Well, air mode didn't exist when we started.
Yeah.
That was not invented yet.
But, I think what you mean is rate mode. And I went straight to rate mode. I never did anything in any kind of stabilized. I had what was it? Blade Nano QX, which did like the worst rate mode ever. And I kind of learned how to hover that around the house.
If you can fly that, you can fly anything.
I managed to fly that in rate mode, and then when I got a QAV 250, that was like 1,000 times easier. But that was my experience.
Yeah, I started out with a little $80 drone that I found at Fry's. It was like a little line of sight, had the prop guards on it, something like that, basically.
Yeah, there you go, like that.
There it is, the Nano QX.
But no FPV. I had the no FPV version, so I actually gave myself challenges, and I'd try to like land in the back of my truck bed, and then I try to land I'd try to practice landing and taking off like controlled,
Mm-hmm.
But I started out actually in angle mode though. I started out with stability, and I met Steele, and he's like, "Dude, you need to fly rate mode." And I flew rate mode, and I was just like screaming the whole time because I kept like crashing over and over. And I was impressed that I could keep it hovering for more than 10 seconds. That's how bad it was.
Too funny.
But yeah.
Did you fly rate mode with FPV? Like, when you said you were flying angle mode, was that in FPV too, or just
it was FPV, yeah. And but I think about a month later I transitioned to rate mode, and I think it made it harder because I was so used to like letting off of the stick and it just like leveling itself.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't get the concept of having to do a counter input to. Anyway, I recommend people starting off rate mode. You're gonna crash more, but
that being able to let off the stick and it just levels itself is so comforting, though.
Yeah, it is.
Says the one who has only just got into the quads to begin with.
I've been to
disoriented because like if it levels itself, like I'm used to flying airplanes or whatever, and like those things don't level themselves. Like you have to put the inputs in, and I always felt weird, like it's fighting me. It's like fighting it back to center. Like I never liked the auto level modes.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that perspective because if you're used to like having to give an input for a result instead of it having to do something that you don't tell it to do is kind of like weird. So,
right. I had a series of those little Hubsons. You guys ever seen those Hubsons?
Yeah, I have one still.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They're great. I ripped those around. I think I have like 3 still like in the woods at this park. Yeah, those. I would like
These are great.
I would take the dog to the park and then be like, I'm gonna fly a drone, and then just like go up in the air and then just like take off in the wind and be like, I don't know which way is forward, and then like before it lands, I'm like already on Amazon again buying a new one.
Yep.
But yeah, that's how I learned. The nice thing about those is like there's not a ton of crossover, I don't think, with learning those little Hubsons and FPV. But like one thing to do is throttle control, right? Because it's just so weird. Because like when I first got it, I don't know if it was just me, but it would do the thing where you go, oh god, I'm falling, and then you hit the then you hit the throttle and it slams against the ceiling, and then you totally cut it off and slams.
Yeah, it has like no throttle resolution at all.
Yeah.
Zero.
It's just on and off. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of that, which maybe transferred over. I don't know.
Yeah, Pat, you just getting like into
wait,
for realsies though.
Okay, so you say I'm just getting into it, but let's be real here. Okay, I had my first multi-rotor was a backbone tricopter that
Did you say baboon?
Would be seen again.
Backbone.
Backbone.
Okay.
Flight test backbone.
Oh, okay.
This is way back in the day, man.
Yeah, this is before I
Chad
was
Cappers.
Okay.
So there was a night when I went out and flew it, and I had LEDs on it, and it was nicely lit up. But when you get far enough away and you have consumed enough moonshine, it's really hard to see. And it just went away. I've never seen it again.
I mean, I feel like there's a ratio of moonshine to distance. Like enough moonshine and 6 feet is too far.
You guys just cover one eye. Oh, it's only one now.
I completely exceeded that ratio. Completely exceeded it.
Moonshine and on the ground is too far.
Yeah, I think we have a show name.
Who needs depth perception?
Moonshine ratio. Oh, that's
then my buddy Eric Monroe, he gave me one of his big tricopters, and it flew great, except that my soldering abilities are like just beyond bad. So every now and then it'd be flying along, and I would fly FPV with it too, and it would just fall out of the sky randomly. Boom. So, and it was, and I have no love for the KK2 board. I really don't, because I something about them. I blame them for my bad soldering, and so me and KK2 boards, we never got along.
1992 called.
Then I went to the.
I'm sorry.
Then I went to.
No, you're not.
Okay, I'm not kidding.
And then I went to the Electro Hub, and it flew great, and never really had a problem with it. And then still teaching, I turned it over to a group of students who were working, and so we modded this thing up crazy, and we had an Arduino controlling it, so it was totally autonomous via the Arduino, and it had a hard life, so it's hanging on my wall right over there right now, among
the other corpses.
Yes, among the other corpses. So then my good friends got together and they purchased me a QAV. My good buddy Ben Greenwald built it for me, and it's sitting right over there, and I've been flying it a little bit.
It's a classic.
We had some.
It is.
We had some very humorous times a couple of weeks back, guys, where we actually did some tuning over the internet.
Yeah. Joel took over my computer and tuned it on Betaflight for me.
Yeah, so I did some wizardry
It
for him.
flies very nice now. Except again, the soldering issues are. I was out flying it the other day, and it was going great, and then it just went.
Yeah, but that's because we're still learning throttle management.
No, it wasn't the battery. No, it was. There was something wrong with the Pololu in that stupid thing, because I'm always having to re-solder those connections, and it just they keep.
Sounds like the flight controller is losing power or something.
Themselves.
Yeah.
It is.
Like, get away from those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get a PDB with like. Yeah.
PDB from 1993.
I've never heard. No one uses Pololus anymore.
No.
Yeah.
No.
We've all dealt
you're
with bad
idiot here.
Pololus.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll fix you up, Pat. Don't worry. We'll get there.
Okay. I need help.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
funny. So big question is: did any of you guys do RC before you went to FPV? Was there any RC experience, or did you guys just dive straight into the FPV thing?
I went straight in. I think Kevin flew RC airplanes before he got into the
Flight test stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. My first. Well, I mean, I flew a little bit of RC with my dad as a kid, but like, it was so many years before that it didn't really translate for line of sight. But I built a FT Delta, hated it, almost got right out of the hobby. Then I built an FT Flyer, and that thing was amazing.
Oh, that's such a great play, and that was my first.
I flew the hell out of that guy forever, and then I built a bunch of the FT Delta, or not the FT Delta, the what was the other wing with the center section?
Nutball?
No.
The I know
Versa. The Versa.
Versa wing.
Yeah. I built a bunch of the blunt nose Versa wings and put FPV gear in them, and actually messed around putting in flight controllers to do like auto level mode in them and cool stuff like that. So
cool. So
not me. Straight to quads.
Yep.
Straight to quads. And now you're in the airplanes a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah, I went the other way around, which is I guess what's heard of now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
what about any helicopters? Regular.
I've flown like the little cheap blade ones from like the hobby store, but I've never not any of the big guys or anything wild.
They terrify me.
Yeah,
Me too.
Yep.
They scare the hell out of me.
Whirling blades of death.
Yep.
Exactly.
Our general consensus here is that we actually make fun of. There's another sister podcast that we frequently bring up, which is the Freefall RC podcast.
You were about to say that we hate.
And
I heard that too.
Yeah, he did.
No. Wait, I'm getting there. Because we bash on them all the time for flying the whirlybirds of death all the time. Because I kid you not, they started the podcast literally talking all about planes, and then they got into helis, and it was a downward spiral.
It's downhill ever since. And then to make matters worse, they brought on Fred Povers,
which
and they drug him into the helicopter.
Exactly. It's a virus.
Poor guy.
But we love those guys.
We love those guys. We give them a hard time all the time. Their hashtag is literally save the hobby. Yeah, no, I know. It's terrible. Anyway, we love you guys.
Because I mean, the three of you are destroying the hobby. Obviously, you're ruining the hobby.
Yeah.
With your antics.
Pretty clearly, secretly hate them though because it slipped out.
Well, Joe,
hey, you weren't supposed to reveal my secret.
You revealed it. We didn't reveal it.
Yeah, we just called you out on it.
Damn it.
That's why we edited our show, man.
Exactly. Well, that's true. That's true. I have the editing power.
I'm like Skitzo in that I didn't have any RC experience, and that I'm now interested in planes, kind of. So I have the same MO on that. John, have you found a plane that you've flown and liked yet? Everything I've seen and at least been around flying is like so wobbly that it doesn't seem fun. I'm interested in other people that are
FPV or line of sight?
FPV.
I don't have too much FPV. The only FPV plane, or I flew an FPV wing, the flight test Arrow.
Yeah.
I flew that, and it was all right, but I don't have much of a reference point because I've never done it before.
Right.
I know that the sweep wings are pretty stable, the larger ones. But with planes, obviously, the larger you go, the more stable they are.
Yeah,
so
that and if they have a tail, the trouble with flying wings is because they don't have any vertical surface, they get all wibbly wobbly, which I know what you're talking about, Gap. They have that wing waggle.
Yeah, the wiggle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What we like to call the hip swing. But the planes, as long as they have a tail, like if you've heard of Visual Aerial Systems or Stone Blue Airlines, they have a couple of planes. The Wyron and the Spectra are two planes that come to mind with big vertical surfaces, and they don't seem to have that same wag that the wings do.
Cool. Yeah, I'd be super curious to see what people coming from, like people like Skitzo coming from FPV, people who are great at FPV with mini quads, moving to planes and getting the satisfaction out of it. Because that's what I would like to do, but I don't want to do all the legwork. So hopefully Skitzo can do it first.
Yeah, but I think what Skitzo's doing is really not FPVing him. I mean, he's going directly into the 3D, the big Edge 540s and the Cap 232 or whatever. I mean, he's getting into some of the really nice big 3D planes, and you really would be really tough to FPV.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, I've got 110-inch wingspan planes.
Yeah, that wouldn't fit where I live.
110 inches. Yeah. Darn.
Yeah, that's gigantic.
But yeah, I don't think FPV would work very well because it just kind of cripples your perception. I mean, you could do some interesting things with it, but it wouldn't be the same.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you wouldn't be shooting any gaps with them.
But yeah, that's but I did strap a GoPro to one of mine one time and flew it around and then reviewed the footage, and it's surprisingly stable. It's not like all over the place. I mean, it was tracking like rails.
Yeah.
So.
Big, as Joshua Orchard would say, big definitely does fly better.
Yep.
So we've kind of covered this a little bit, but have any of you guys flown quads line of sight?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you enjoy it at all?
I would much rather FPV, but I mean, my only line of sight is just testing if my new build hovers or not. Yeah. That's about it now.
Tail and only.
Pretty much.
We have a rule that you have to maiden everything, because we're on that Slack group, and so we have kind of a funny joke about if you maiden something and you talk about it, you have to film it.
Okay.
Nice. Great.
Nope.
That sounds.
I'm not gonna do that.
That sounds.
Yeah, me either.
I have hardwood floors. I don't.
Yeah, no.
Thanks.
Yeah. I got a 65-inch TV. No way.
I rent. So no. Yeah, that's not happening.
I got good enough at line of sight to be able to like what Skitzo was saying, to be able to do flips and stuff and snap rolls, to kind of get to do quick tuning stuff back when you had to do tuning with your laptop. So I got back when I had to use KISS and use my laptop to tune. I would but instead of putting the goggles on every time, you just do your little thing, set it down, flip, and then you kind of see any bounce back or any kind of I-term waggle or whatever. So that's back then. I used a lot more line of sight, and now if the ground is gross, I'll bring it in and then take my goggles off and hover it back and catch it. But as far as line of sight acrobatic stuff, I'm not that interested in it, and I have terrible vision. And so as soon as it's 10 feet away, it's just a ball of props that I don't know which way is which. Which is very safe.
Oh, that's too funny. Let's see. So in terms of progression, would you guys consider yourselves to have progressed quickly in the hobby or a little bit slower? And what are your recommendations for people progressing through?
I think it probably mainly depends on what you want out of the hobby. The progression is more of relative to yourself, right? Do you want to be the best in the world? Do you want to be better than the guy down the street? And I don't know. I already forgot the question. My ADD kicked in. I was running with it.
Hey, Pat, where were you? Pat, where were you? Squirrel.
Honestly,
I'm right here.
Seriously,
No.
honestly, I have ADD really bad. So I was sitting there I was like, yeah, I got this. And I was like, ooh, shiny. I was hoping, I was hoping that Kevin would maybe Kevin or Gapit would feed off of it and just keep going, but no one chimed in. It was just silence. I was like,
I'm letting you dig that hole.
Well, in all honesty, John, we literally have those squirrel moments on the regular because of that guy in the green that we were telling you about. He has squirrel moments like you wouldn't believe. So it's totally okay.
Okay.
Look, they tell me I can't focus on a single thing. I just have a lot going on, man, and there's a lot to do, and you got to get it done. And sometimes it's during a podcast. What am I going to do?
Kind of like Korean short ribs, during a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Why not do both?
Okay, so
I think Skitzo's point, to pick it up where he left off, was you should define your goal, right? If your goal is to be better at acrobatic flight than somebody, or to be the top level of acrobatic flight, or if your goal is just to make smooth footage or whatever, I think
race,
or race, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's how little I think about racing. I don't even think about it.
I know, yeah. I don't even know what that is.
I was going to say, of course, the 3 pilots that we bring in are all freestyle pilots. None of them race.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
The funny thing about that, though, is I've always just like Gapit just said, I've always just discounted racing. Like, I know it exists, but it just never appealed to me because my outlook on it was when I got into drones, the exciting aspect about it was like being able to fly over trees and see what it looks like on, being a bird, basically, kind of like exploring. Where racing, I feel like, is the opposite of that, right? Like, you're above the ground the whole time. You can do that in a car or an RC
these
car.
Flying machines, these amazing first-person view flying machines, and then race them 3 feet off the ground through hula hoops.
Let's just keep them on the ground the whole time. That sounds.
Build a car.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but I did pick up Velocidrone thanks to Kevin and Steele mentioning it and trying to that. I mean, racing is pretty fun in its own right, for sure, especially if the tracks are kind of interesting.
Yeah, last night we got Skitzo on Velocidrone and some of those SFPV tracks, and with Tommy and Drew and John and Willard, and John was just destroying it. He kept laying down the hot lap and pissing off Nick.
That's funny. But to their favor, they were all drunk and I was not, so I was taking advantage of the sober moment.
And I can't imagine that any of the gaming that you've done over the years probably hurts that at all, right?
Yeah, probably not. I wouldn't think it would. The hand and eye coordination is there. I mean, I used to be a pro gamer, so
there
you go.
Oh wow. Yeah. Can we just go down? How old are you guys? Like, Jonathan, how old are you?
37.
Okay, Kevin.
36. I'll be 37 this month.
And
damn, you old.
Gapit.
I'm 31. I'm 31 Earth years.
31.
Yes.
Okay. 31. Oh, Earth years. I like that.
What about Klingon years?
Okay, so I got to say I'm impressed because I expected a couple of 25s coming out there, and I'm glad that didn't happen because I'm about to turn 47 here.
Representing the millennial population.
Okay, I'm leaving now.
1990.
My insides are in their mid.
Yeah, dude. 26.
I was cruising the strip for chickies when you were born.
Yeah. 27. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, okay.
I also just came to the country in 2006. So yeah, there was that too. But yeah, that's fun. So in terms of tech, because you guys, okay, so first of all, I know obviously John is a representative of race flight, but do you guys think that the technology has allowed you guys to advance to the degree that you have, or has it aided in the process in any way? And do you think that for new pilots, the technology is at a point where it's easier for people to get into it?
The technology is definitely better now. I mean, when we started, it was just basically like open pilot and clean flight. Those are like your options.
I got a multi-wheel board up there.
Or okay, multi-wheel too, but that's even like
I have a Naze Rev 1 somewhere.
Yeah.
Wait, multi-wheels fly great. What are you guys talking about?
No, we're not discrediting them. We're just saying like
as compared to what they were.
Like me and Kevin, and I don't know when Gapit started, but when did you start Gapit?
I started in February of 2016. So I started like right when the Naze Rev 5 came out.
Okay, so you're fairly new-ish, kind of. But
Yeah,
anyway, so we had Clean Flight and Open Pilot, and there was absolutely no information online. Like there was nothing. You could go deep into
Oscar Liang.
what was the forums that we always went to?
RC groups.
RC groups. Yeah. You could go deep into those forums and hope to God that someone had the same issue you did on why your receiver won't turn on or something. And then there were no YouTube videos. The only YouTube videos was basically Boris and Metal Danny and like Sharpoo. Those were the only people. And yeah, good luck getting a hold of them, right? So you were really on your own. So now it's like all the firmware is out there. All the hardware is just like so much further along that it's just I can't imagine. It's just like point your finger and it'll probably fly good, you know. So I don't know. ADD kicked in again. Evan, take over.
No, I agree. The progression, like, I think I misstated earlier. I started about a year earlier than I said. I said 2015. It was like more like 2014. But when I started, we were on the NAS 32s before the Rev 5s, and running Clean Flight, and then Clean Flight 1.9. And that was like the jam forever. And that you had to tune. The tuning now, there's such a wide range of PID values that will fly good. And back then, you had to just nail it and really hope to not only just nail your tune, but there were a lot of weird quirks that you had to fly around that we don't really have to deal with now. There was air mode. You had to be really careful about what you did at min throttle. There was none of this anti-gravity. You had to be really smooth on the throttle transitions, and also doing adding in pitch and roll movements as you made aggressive throttle adjustments. So we learned a lot of flying around it. I'm not saying that there's anything against people that are starting out right now, because obviously we still had a lot of help from Clean Flight. Like you can't discount what the software and the hardware was doing for us back then. But it's a little bit easier to get started with these days. And like John was saying, so much more information. I don't know how many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages of irrelevant information I read through on RC groups, just hoping to find like one thing. You know?
Well, not only that, but excluding the flight controller firmware, it's also the ESC. Like people got to understand that like one shot, multi-shot, D-shot, none of these were out.
It was all Opto ESCs back then.
It was all PPM, which is obviously super latent RC link. So, I mean, it's just better. I mean, I'm envious for people starting now, because they just come in and they're going to have a great flying setup and they can just focus on getting better instead of worrying about all the technical problems that they might run into.
Especially now with
wait. Let me stop you right there. You can say these things are all great, but then an idiot like me comes along, and trust me, I created enough of my own issues. So that's going to be a question coming down the line soon from me to you. So Joel, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, especially now, and this is coming from the perspective. So just to give you guys a little bit of a background, my first quad was an HMB 235 from Multi RC, running an AS 1 on PPM with a CMOS cam and all the fun stuff that came with that. Yeah,
nice, man.
Yeah, I had the original setup too, so I know the pain. And I just remember back in those days, like not having a simulator, just like you running in horizon mode and then getting into rate mode and letting the difficulties of rate mode and not having air mode and scaring the crap out of yourself when you accidentally arm your quad and the flight controller isn't directly tied into your frame. Yeah, I did that too in the living room. So yeah, no, actually it was outside my back porch, not far from my living room. So that's actually not far from the truth. I got the scar to prove it. So yeah, I completely empathize with that pain. Do you think that by the same degree that simulators now, like you were saying, from your experience, especially yesterday with the racing stuff, do you think that simulators are also making the gateway to entry easier?
Absolutely. I mean, getting there. I mean, I don't think simulators will ever perfectly replicate the physics of a quad, but it's so close now that you can really at least understand what it takes to keep it. Well, Yeah, you can understand, you know, the basic controls and inputs of flying a quad, you know.
Well, I can say it helps.
But you know, back in the day, you had to build it, hope to God that it worked, and then go fly it, and then just explode propellers. Like I literally had trash cans full of broken propellers.
Yeah, because they were made of glass back then.
Yeah, they didn't have. Yeah, exactly. On top of that, they didn't have non-breakable props back then. So
you had like a big mop and it exploded.
Exactly.
Do you think so? Earlier, like, because I think your point kind of too is that tuning now is almost a matter of preference. It's like, just how do you want to feel better? Whereas back in the day, like, if you didn't tune it very, very, very well, it would barely fly, and it certainly wouldn't be good footage.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And, you know, the other point to the tuning thing is, you know, back in the day, there was an emphasis, especially, you know, you got channels like Joshua Bardwell, who has a heavy, heavy emphasis on the tune of a quad and the way that it flies and getting it to fly exactly how you as a pilot want it to fly. But back then, it was just getting it out the gate, flying well. You needed a set of PIDs that worked well for the particular frame that you had. Now we lost Pat. Of course, he'll be back. But you know, now it's a case of what feels right for you in terms of the PIDs. So my PIDs that I love, I'm close to finalizing a tune on mine, is going to be totally different from the way that everybody else's is, because that's the way I like to fly it.
Right. But back in the day, like, there was one correct tune, or one very small window of tune for your rig. Whereas I think what you're saying now is that it can be like anywhere. It's a huge spectrum of what it can be, and still fly great, but feel different. But before, it had to be this like one narrow window.
Yeah. I think absolutely. I think the defaults on all the firmwares fly good enough for about 98% of the people, but then there's going to be that 2% that want to tweak it to be more towards their liking. Because, like, for example, I could fly Kevin's quad and be like, oh, this flies like crap. Yeah. And he can fly my quad and think the same thing. You kind of like, again, it's I think the tune is like 80% of it, and then there's that 20% that's more of a personal feel of the craft.
That's because do you think there was an advantage to having to learn to fly around a bad tune back in the day? Like, the way you fly, especially, John, is like, it's mesmerizing because it's so smooth and so free of prop wash. And you can tell, like, I don't think you ever would have developed that style of flight if you didn't have to fly around. Because, like, what the smooth sweeps are just avoiding prop wash. And that's kind of like, I imagine that's where that started. And if you just started now and you could just go like this and then stop and have no prop wash, I bet you wouldn't have started flying so smoothly. So
yeah, that did kind of start, because in the clean flight era 1.9 that Kevin mentioned, we didn't have the whole aero mode. Like, if you went to min throttle, you would basically just fall out of the sky. Yeah. So you really had to really be in control of the throttle, and that's where a lot of that came from, was trying to do the smooth curves. Yeah. And I was very careful about that, and now it's just easier to do now. But I definitely think it did help me for sure.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think the other part of that is that 100% the tunes back in the day that you were on a narrow window, but now it's at a point where every pilot is so close in skill level that even a slight difference in the way that a quad flies could improve their flying skill, just because it feels better to them and they can adapt to that tune a little bit better as well. So from my perspective, learning the process of a good tune and how a good tune feels versus a completely untuned quad, I still can know. I don't know about you guys, but especially because of where we come from, I can definitely tell when a quad is untuned or where the errors in the tune come from, because I've had that experience of knowing where that is, and I almost feel like it could potentially be lost, if that makes sense, because someone hasn't had that experience.
Because it's also automatic.
I'm just lost.
Me too, buddy.
I don't know what each of them do.
You can totally get away with not learning how to tune now. You can just load Betaflight or whatever and then go fly, and it'll be fine for the most part. Could never learn how to. That's fine.
Well, it's kind of like it's kind of I'm into cars too, so it's kind of like cars though. Like, if you go out and buy a Corvette, right? most people are going to be like, this is awesome, this is fast, but there might be that small percentage of people that really know what a Corvette can do, and they're going to tweak the suspension and they're going to do things to it to be more towards their liking. And it's very similar to quad. It's the same concept, though much cheaper than a Corvette.
Much. I don't know. I've probably spent enough money. I could probably.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Maybe not over time. Yeah.
My friends are all platinum, so I don't know about you.
Yeah. But the thing that's really cool about the biggest thing that I loved about like racing is cool. It's cool to see people race and do this crazy course like the DRL and all that stuff and do it really, really fast. But freestyle was more. This actually has nothing to do with anything. I just wanted to bring it up. But freestyle was always super. My focus is because it was more of an expression, kind of like an art style. Like I can see Kevin fly, I can see Steele fly, I can see Johnny FPV fly, all these different fly. I see Gapit, whatever. I don't even have to see their name, and I'll know who it is. And that's like a cool thing. And that never lost its transition even till now. So that's one of the cool things. So I don't really care how well these quads fly out of the box. I still think there's a lot of personality that goes into it. So.
Absolutely.
It just makes it more appealing.
And I will say that, I watch you, and I am so inspired by your flying, John, because it is so smooth, and I don't know, you can almost tell there's feeling there when you're flying, and of course, you do your edits and stuff. And I see the music, I hear the music
selection.
Well, I'm telling you,
it's really funny that you bring that up, though, Mike, because my next question to these guys is, do you think that video production and video editing helps to boost the visual stimulation that one would get from the flying footage?
Absolutely. I think, I mean, I tend to lean towards more of the really chill, relaxed stuff. And that's just kind of my thing. I think it goes really well with the smooth stuff, where Kevin might have a more energized track because he's more like all over the place and just like nailing all these crazy gaps and holes.
I like the rock music that you use, Kevin.
And it works. It's like perfect. It's like a nice. I don't know. That's what I love. Kevin's flying reminds me a lot of the old school skateboarding days. When you just listen to cool like rock music or punk rock or whatever, and there's these guys doing gnarly things, and that's what Kevin kind of brings that back, and I like that.
Yeah, I think
very Thrasher-esque.
Yeah, Gap style is actually the one that I assimilate mine closest to. Is the more flowy straight lines with odd flippy floppy here and there. But I have to say, I have been stealing your flip cut trick from my edits as of late. It's working quite well.
Were you the one that started that, Gapit?
Started doing it from a long time ago, and it got attributed to me, but I didn't invent it.
Okay.
I mean, just like I also didn't invent and putting music to moving pictures to elicit an emotional response either. The film industry here, but I love the flip cut because transitions are always going to be weird unless they're to the beat, and they're kind of abrupt. Mm-hmm. And so that was like my weird cheap way of doing it way back when I had to do a lot of small clips to get 2 minutes of flight that was watchable.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, and they're always kind of fun. It's fun to get zapped into something else. Although a year ago now, Kevin on Facebook was like, "This flip cut bullshit. Let's talk about how dumb it is."
I was actually watching Kevin's face when I was asking you the question if you created the flip cut.
That's so funny. Sorry, Kevin, that I'm still using that.
It's fine. I'm still not a fan. I mean, people can do it, but I think at the time, to be fair to me, it was getting. I think it was getting a lot of overuse. People have kind of toned it down, and whatever.
Kind of like my speed ramping thing, like everyone's doing that now. It's just like, okay, I'm not doing that anymore.
And another thing that I attribute very closely with Gap's videos is flying very low, close to a proximity of an item, and flying in a very straight, stable format. Which as a pilot, we know that is a particularly high level skill to be able to get close to the ground without it looking shaky, without looking like it it loses control. Do you think that some of those may come across as boring in footage, or is it more pleasing? Like, what are your feelings on like things that are more simple instead of like flippy floppies all over the place?
I think anything can get old. Anything gets blown out because, like, for a while there, the big rage was cinematic, whatever that means.
Yeah, it's just when you put the black bars above your.
I think that's letterbox. I think is what that is.
Okay.
But as far as like slow controlled things, I think it does. I think it's cool because it captures both audiences. It both is for pilots because pilots know technically how hard it is to stay that controlled and stable, and also people that aren't really into FPV. I think that a lot of flips that aren't meant for anything, a lot of flips that are just arbitrary, are exhausting. I think you get worn out watching somebody flip around. So a nice, stable, clean flight every once in a while is interesting to people that don't fly, interesting to pilots, and it's a good way to kind of have rhythm in your video. Because if your video is all stable, then it's boring. If it's all flip-flops, then at the end you're stressed out and you want to throw up. But if you have a cadence to it, then it's like a song, you know? It builds up, and it goes down, and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
Talk out of my ass.
I agree. I think it's personal preference. You know, like I see like Steel and who else? Who's that other guys at Web FPV that do those gnarly, just like all over the place. Like I look at that and I appreciate the skill, the technical skill that it takes to do that stuff because I can't do that stuff. But I do kind of agree with you. If there's too much of it, it's just kind of like you're just like, okay, this has no meaning. He's just like slamming. We call them stick bangers in the airplane world. They're just kind of slamming the sticks and hoping something cool happens. So I think I think what we're really trying to say is there's kind of an importance to have some kind of like balance and also like a choreography of elements. It's not all about like how many flips you do or how smooth you are even. It's also the transitions and like what you choose to do and string it together, you know?
So we were speaking, I know this is a super hot topic. We were speaking on videography and the feeling of, putting letterboxing in. And I know we have a close friend who utilizes a lot of, shall we say, B-roll footage in letterbox format for vlogging purposes. What are your feelings on adding vlog formats to flight videos?
Kevin?
I like it. I personally like it. I think a lot of the and I've in my experience from like the response to videos that I made, I get a lot more response to say a video that is done in the style of a vlog where you have some hanging out. Not necessarily. I try to make vlogs where it's just, okay, we're at a field and now we're doing this. Like there needs to either be something out of the normal happening, or maybe you're testing something out or trying to complete some kind of challenge. But I feel like having more of a story to go along with the flight footage, it only helps. And then you need, at that point, you're looking at how do you transition and tell this story, and sometimes the B-roll is helpful for that. So I personally like the vlogs, and I think it's a whole more. It's just a different avenue of expression and trying to make content, which is what we're all doing.
I think that I was absolutely against vlogging when it first started. I was just like, oh, I hate this. I just want to watch flights, but then I think you can only kind of watch so much flight footage to the point where there's so many good pilots out there that I think that the vlogging is kind of what differentiates. It allows the viewer to kind of connect with you a little bit more, and kind of there's more of a personality involved at that point. It's not about like how good you are, because I think even let's say a pilot with not as good skill level as like some of the top guys, but has a really good way of conveying how the day went, or it was just really good in front of the camera, can still be entertaining. So it just, I don't know. I was against it just mainly because I just don't like being in front of cameras. But I'm all for it now, though. I'm like Kevin. I think it's just a different dimension to what we used to be doing.
I think what Kevin was saying, and both of you guys, that it's a good tool for narrative. It helps make a story and tell a story, and that makes it inherently more interesting. Mm-hmm. I agree with that, and I wish that I had a more creative way to do that. I think my objection to a lot of vlogs is that they feel derivative. Like they feel like I'm making a vlog for the sake of a vlog. Like, here is me making coffee and a Casey Neistat song, and then here's the airplane window, and here's
and
like,
okay. So I know what you're trying to say there, because that's going down the like the trope of a vlog, right? Like
trope. That's the word. That's a better word. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think I don't like that either. That kind of gets really old as well. So you just I don't know. Kevin makes some good ones. It's very like, he doesn't really do that much. It's more of just like, hey guys, we're gonna test these new ESCs. Oh, one caught on fire. Check out some flight footage. I mean, it's like it's just like a, I don't know. It's like it's like a nice.
It's an intro and an outro kind of deal.
Flight footage. You got to make sure that there's like, in my opinion, I think there should be more flight footage than vlogging, but it really just guess depends on the video.
And honestly, that's the exact style that I use in my videos. I've only released 2 because I just put a GoPro on my rigs because it's taken me a long time to progress. I had these guys on my quad for the longest time, if you recognize what that is. No, that is an Emax right there.
That's old cooling series.
Old cooling series.
From the Reagan administration.
Yeah, exactly right. I told you, it took me a little while to advance. But yeah, no, so my rig is now GoPro ready. So I've only just really gotten into the ability to create good content, and I feel as a pilot that I'm at a point where I'm creating interesting footage as well. But I agree. I think just posting the regular flight footage as it is not nearly as interesting as having a little bit of a narrative before and the after the fact. So what am I doing, and what is the purpose of me going out and flying today, and then going and posting the footage, and then having a little bit of an outro, a tail off. And this was a fun thing that I did. Last video, I was out with a guy chasing a 64-inch wing, which I've never done before. So having the ability to say, hey, by the way, this is something I've never done, posting the footage, and it was more interesting.
Well, one of the things I will say, I do like the vlogging plus the flight, because even though I've only met, Jonathan for like 10 minutes, maybe at Joe Nall. I met Kevin at Flight Fest last year for like 3 minutes. I have never met Gapit, but one thing I will say about the vlog is it connects me with you guys and makes me feel like I know you, even though I know I don't. But I do know your personality. I know how you fly. I know where you fly. I know all those things, and it gives me a connection to you, and also makes me feel like, hey, I can get there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's personal.
And that's what I need.
Well, I think it's a social connection, right? It's a way to you're not able to come fly with us, right? You're not able to come out and hang out with us. So it's kind of it's an avenue to kind of feel like you're with us, and
yes,
an escape
absolutely.
for a minute, just like a flight video would do, I guess. That's the only reason I watched flight videos originally, because when I was at work, on my lunch break, I would pull up and watch Metal Danny and Boris and all these guys I looked up to. And that was an escape. It was like 3 minutes of just like all this BS around me doesn't matter. And all that matters is this kind of experience. And that's what started it. And I think
the best videos are like a flight in terms of 3 minutes of you escaping your brain. Right?
100%.
Yeah.
Let me ask this. How often do you guys go out and fly without recording?
Never.
Never.
Yeah, never.
Okay, let me ask this second question. How often do you guys go out and fly recording, but you never post it?
All the time.
A lot.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys see maybe 10% of what I record. Yeah.
Because here's you guys are the top of the top. You guys are at the top of your game. I see a lot of people posting flight videos. I have flight videos on. Really expect anybody to watch them. I put them up there as sentimental value to me mostly.
What do you mean? The Cinnamon Crash is amazing.
Crash is amazing. I will give you that. That's the video I have. That and the 30 seconds of me going upside down through rapids in my kayak. That's pretty good. But I find most flight videos, you guys accepting because you guys are the top of the top, I find most flight videos to be horribly boring. Even mine. I don't want anybody to watch them. I don't want to watch them. So
that's
let's
pretty
be
bad
honest.
when you don't want to watch your own.
No, but it is. I don't expect anybody to watch them because I'm not out there doing anything fantastic. But it seems everybody's posting these things now. And what makes a video separate from a god damn that's a good video?
Again, I guess that's personal preference. Go ahead, Gapit.
Sorry, I think two things. I think that now, like people, it's harder to be impressed now because the novelty is over. Like a year and a half ago, people just getting in the air and flying like with confidence was like that's one of 9 guys in the world that can do that, and it was really cool. So I think that that's the floor for like flight aptitude is way high. And I also think the thing that makes, because like you can't really explain what makes somebody like Johnny or Kevin or Skitzo's flights more appealing.
Or Gapit.
Oh, Gapit.
Oh, Gapit.
I think the thing that makes good flight appealing is you can tell that it's deliberate, right? So like if you think of like a dancer, like I can go up and do a spin or whatever, that's a dance, and it won't be impressive. But with a dancer, you can predict what they're gonna do, and then they'll kind of build you up, and then they'll do it, and it's satisfying. And I think that what you see there is deliberation, like they're being deliberate and they're doing the thing that you are ready for them to do. And I think that only comes with like an insane amount of practice and aptitude and control. I'm not sure if that makes sense at all, but I think that's really hard to quantify.
It does.
That's the thing that those guys have.
What makes it good is a choreography. Now, when you guys go into filming a flight, do you plan ahead or is it more spontaneous in what you're doing?
I think Kevin and I have a similar. We don't plan ahead, but we'll see something. We're like, I'm going to hit that hole, and then we have something that catches our eye that just kind of makes the spot stand out, and then but everything else in between is like we just make up and just kind of go with the flow. But we definitely involve that thing that we went there to do. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's not planned, and I think when it's not planned, it's the best because you can. I feel like you can tell if you're planning to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that leads to a bigger conversation about flow and the way that flow impacts flights. Like when you get into the groove of a good flight and you just feel that each move connects seamlessly with one another and you feel more connected and more there in the presence of the quad itself, I think that's when the real flight actually begins. I think, we all joke about how the first pack we fly is always our worst because we're just getting back into the sticks. But once you pick up that rhythm and that flow again, just in the zone, I think that's the best flight footage that you get.
What you feel like? Which is the best flight that you get? Sorry.
Like once I'm in the flow, like after the first pack gets knocked out, and
when we
brush the dust.
When we go out and film and we fly and stuff, it's usually I'll film. Let's say I film 20 different flights for the day. I probably don't even look at the first like 2/3 of the flights. I only concentrate on maybe like the last 5 flights because I know I was probably in the zone. I knew the spot more. There's a lot of different factors, but definitely the flow is essentially just. Like you just said, how you string everything together, like the choreography of all of it, and that's not something that you can just tell someone how to do. It's just something that they have to like learn and.
Well, but it's truly an art form.
Yeah, I guess so.
It truly is.
Yeah.
No, to me, there's no guessing to it because, whether I'm watching, Stingy or Gapit or you, when you guys are doing this and you get in the zone, you have something in your mind that you're trying to get out,
right?
That you're seeing through that FPV camera. And I know what I want to see through my FPV camera, but these don't make it happen.
Oh, it will.
If your mind and the hands are completely disconnected.
Yeah, no.
But I think the big dark secret with flow, big air quotes here, is that what a lot of times what it is like Skitzo was saying, like you have a plan, you say I'm gonna hit that gap, and so you involve that, but inevitably on the way there and on the way back, you're gonna screw up, you're gonna deviate from your plan, and what flow I think really is like smooth improvisation, because the whole time you're flying, like I don't care how well you plan it, you're gonna screw up right away, you're gonna come out of a flip a little bit skewed, And if you have good flow, you'll use that, and you'll kind of make it seem like you're doing it on purpose in a way. Whereas I think that if you are a little less confident, then you'll kind of go, "Oh God, I'm in the wrong way," and then you overcorrect, and then you lose the flow. So I think controlled falling, controlled improvisation is probably a better.
That's a good point. Yeah, because sometimes you might be planning to do a front flip and like you don't complete it, so you end up halfway, but then you like roll out of it and make it look like you intended to do that, and that's just it's just your reflexes of like what's going on.
And muscle memory at that point.
Yeah. There are no wrong notes in jazz, so even a mistake.
Sure there are.
I agree.
Give me a piano.
They all sound like wrong notes.
Jazz.
Yeah, I think my piano's out of tune, guys.
Tighten up the screws there, Mike.
Well, I lost most of them.
Oh, that's too funny. So moving on from the videography side, I know Gap, you've been pushing the long range thing a lot more recently. What is I'm curious about Kevin and John's. What is your feeling on long range?
So I talked about this on my show and on Spun recently, so forgive me if I'm being repetitive. But I think that there's two things happening. The first one is like the term long range, I think is a problem, because what happens is you say long range, and then inevitably all of the old timer like keyboard warriors on Facebook will say that's not long range.
Oh my God.
And so like whatever, that's like what we're doing isn't long range, right? So I think there's a vocabulary issue there. But I think that the thing that I'm doing and that a lot of guys are also doing, where it's flying like any of us do in a park or whatever, but just instead of having your footprint be, like it was like it's been for the past 2 years, it's just 5 times bigger because you have a better, RX, you have a better link, you have, UHF link or whatever. And so when I say long range,
you pucker.
anything that stresses you out, man. And when I say long range, it's usually never more than a kilometer, but it's far enough away that I'm stressed out about it.
Yeah.
And so there's no real term for that I know of. Some people have thrown around the term like free range, which I think is funny.
Yeah.
No. But I think that the like capital L long range, that the Warriors talk about, I am not interested in. I don't think a lot of people are, because what that is taking a very big, very shaky quad, going up 1,000 feet, and then going out a mile, and like that is just inherently uninteresting to me. Like if your video has to be sped up for 90% of it to be like, look at how far I went. If that's the big goal is just to go far away, no thanks.
I actually started out though long range. I was super like interested in seeing how far I could go with RC, and then after I did it, I was like, well, did that, never going to do that again.
Yeah.
And
there's too much money out there.
It just kind of loses its appeal. Yeah. And so, but there's nothing wrong. Like I'm not doing Crossfire or any of that stuff yet. Because I think 2.4 is good for me, but there's definitely nothing wrong with, like you just said, like expanding the bubble or securing a better connection. Like, why wouldn't you want a better connection or a better penetrating signal? So
yeah,
there's nothing wrong with that.
And that's what all my stuff is. Like all of my quote unquote long range rigs are just my 5-inch rigs with Crossfire on them.
Yeah.
And you run 200 milliwatt.
Video transmitter?
Yes.
I run, like, depends on the situation. If I'm in concrete, I'll run like 350. If I'm out in the woods, 800.
He's like, I run 5 watts.
I run 5 watts.
Watts.
My antenna is just
it's just a moving EMP grenade.
I can see that.
Things falling out of the sky as he flies.
Yeah, there's like birds just like coming through and dropping.
Yes.
Heads are exploding.
Too funny. Kevin, what are your thoughts on the long range thing?
I am on board with what Gapit had to say. All of my quads now are running Crossfire. I like it's a solid link. And for the most part, to me, it's the ability.
Do you want to tell them about what happened when you tried to show off on Crossfire? I'm just kidding.
Oh God! Yeah.
Well, now you got.
Yeah, I know, right? Now you open that can of worms. No, so just the ability to stretch out your footprint and have a reliable link, because there are times I have fail-safed on the Tyrannus, just pushing my luck, trying to do something like, in some of these office parks, peeking around and pulling off something around the corner on the backside of the building real quick, even though I know the video is going to be complete garbage, but I can see enough to get around that tree or whatever. Having the confidence to know that it's not fail-safe when I stretch the 5/8 link to its limits, it is nice. So
Yeah.
So the real thing is it's not true long range by definition of what the old FPV or old school long range, like the big gliders that people used to take up like 5 kilometers and just glide around, just funsies. I'm in the same boat. Right now I'm running a QX7, and the range that I got on it, I mean, the last video that I posted from where Champions Gate, which is like 8 miles that way, I had the same thing. I was 2,000 meters out and had just fine radio connection, but that's really all I needed. I know if I had a crossfire, I could push it further than that. It's just a question of comfort level. You fly within your bounds based on the technology that you have. And leading into, because we don't want to keep you guys for too much longer, but just to kind of wrap things up a little bit, let's talk a little bit about the setups that you guys all run, and just the equipment that you guys are running on all of your rigs. Starting out with Gap, I think your rig is probably the most interesting rig with the.
Give me 2
All right,
seconds.
I'm out of here.
I'll grab
Just
it.
kidding.
Yeah, I'm leaving now.
Yeah. Speaking of, let me grab mine real quick.
Yeah, guys, we just we want to keep you on here for as long as you'll stay, but at the same time, I know you guys got a lot going on. So
this is mine. This is
Korean
my
short ribs. No, I'm
crazy.
just
Yeah. Oh no, you enjoy that all you want.
I'm just kidding.
So I'm still flying the old school H quads because I love the way that this thing flies. It's technically a true X in configuration, but it's so fun and stable.
Okay.
Wait, so it's an H quad and a True X?
Yes, it's
Interesting.
in alignment. It's a
Yeah.
true X, but it's got the shape of an H,
Interesting. Okay.
and it
Sorry,
flies
Gapit.
really
Didn't interrupt
stable. Sorry.
I'm very upset. This is really a maximum level of pissed. Okay, so my rig is this guy. I just built this the other day. So it's a Hexover R5 LX, which is actually supposed to be a bottom mount frame.
Yep, I have one.
So all you gotta do is on top, you clip this little hole here, the clip, and you can then mount your battery on top and sideways, which is what I do. The colloquialism there is called toilet tanking, which is hilarious in its own right. And that does a few things. I like having the battery on top. I think most other people here do too for freestyle stuff. It keeps the center of mass in line with the GoPro for the most part. I just like it. So that's that. I got my very silly crossfire antenna sticking out the top, just so that they're never impeded, like they're never blocked by anything. And then I run the Hobby Wing stack on everything. It's like the 40 amp all 4-in-1 ESC, and then it just kind of goes into pins onto the FC. So it's like the easiest build ever. And then these are the new Emax 2207 light specs that are great. They're like 30
very
grand.
nice, very very nice motor.
Yeah, and so I have 4 of these that are essentially the same, and I break a lot of them. And so instead of bringing parts with me, I just bring extra quads.
Guess I'll go get mine.
And so while he's going to get his, the one thing about it that's weird is the toilet tank, the battery being sideways. And my philosophy on that is, at first it was just to get a battery on top. It had to go sideways on this frame, which I love. But so I kind of shoehorning logic into it. But really what it is in my brain is if somebody said, here's a GoPro and here is a battery, now make them as tight as possible together, you wouldn't line them up like a hot dog, right? You'd put one sideways.
Wait, you mean like this?
Like that's not a very tight center of mass.
No, okay? No, it's very wide. Very wide.
And so like this, when the battery is sideways and then the GoPro's there, it's all one little ball. And so in my brain, at least, and who knows how much this really affects flight, but in my experience, the tighter the ball of mass, the easier it is to tune, the better it flies, and the less drag there is. It's just better in every way, in my opinion.
Sure thing.
The closer you have everything to the center mass, the lower the rotational inertia, so the easier it is to move in any dimension.
Totally agree. And that's even even stuff like a 4-in-1 ESC, like that's taking, like, how much the ESCs weigh, 5, 6, 7 grams, like that's, you're still taking that off of the edge. So you're consolidating all the mass you can into one little ball. And it looks silly, but I really, really like how it flies. Yeah.
Kevin?
All right. Well, I thought that I had a quad up here, but apparently all my gear is still in the car. And so I'm flying the Stingy frame, obviously, from X-Hover.
I wonder why. I mean, this thing, right?
Yeah, imagine that. Yes, that thing. I noticed the shirt earlier. I didn't say anything then. But, yeah, thanks. So the Stingy frame, running the beta. My current favorite setup is the Beta F4 flight controller and PDB combo, and the Betaflight 35 amp BL Heli 32 ESCs, and using triumphs and unifies on the video, along with the Runcam Swift V2 or the Rotor Riot Runcam Swift V2. So yeah, I think that pretty much rounds it out. Oh, and the Venom packs.
Venom.
You're running Venom batteries right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And last but by no means least, John.
What's up? I finally found one that wasn't exploded.
Yay!
All right, so yeah, I actually I fly top mounted and bottom mounted batteries. My original dark matter frame is actually a bottom underslung design. But you can also mount it on top, but you have to do what Gapit style. What did you call that? Where you do it like sideways?
Toilet tanking.
Yes.
Toilet tanking.
I will not call it that, but
Sideways mount.
yeah.
We also call it breech birth, which didn't.
So I've been doing that lately, where I run it toilet tanking style with the battery horizontally, and the GoPro I usually use a TP. I just built this one for Rotor Riot, so I don't have a GoPro mount on it, but essentially it's just a TPU, pod that goes on top to hold the GoPro. But it runs the race flight stack, which is the Skitzo Revolt flight controller, and the Skitzo Bolt, which is actually the all-in-one 30 amp ESC, and it has a single wire that connects all of it together, so there's no soldering, except for obviously your FPV gear,
Right.
the motor leads, and the receiver. So we have a future one coming out where you won't really be doing those either. But and then I'm of course running my motors, the 2206 2450 kV purple Skitzo motors, and then my frame.
That's the one with the ceramic bearing in it. Is that
It
correct?
is. The ceramic bearing, nice and smooth.
Yeah, the smooth.
You hear that?
Yeah.
No, you can't hear that. No, I'm just kidding. You couldn't hear it anyway. I'm just kidding.
I know this smooth thing. It's.
No, I hear it. It's going. What else? I'm flying Futaba receiver because I'm on the Futaba team.
Yeah, congratulations. That's
Thank
a
you.
fairly new thing, right?
Yeah. I kind of joined them because I was doing airplane stuff too, so they make really good higher end radios for that. So and then of course Lumineer VTX. I usually run 600 milliwatt 5.8, and then I'm running the Rotor Riot Swift 2 on this particular frame. So.
Very nice.
That's it.
Just a quick poll, super quick, and then we promise we will start to close out here.
Cool.
Super quick. What is the lens that you guys are running on your cams?
I have it's a really big 1.8 giant.
Okay.
Oh my god.
That is
that I'm in love with.
gigantic.
I will not fly any other lens. The trouble is it doesn't fit on most.
Can you see behind your quad on that one?
I can see in the
Is it a 360 cam?
yeah, I can see in past, and I can see there's ahead.
You can see in the
That's
past.
why he
that's
flies so
important.
smooth. We
Yeah.
figured it out, guys.
Exactly.
I'm flying the. So for a long time, I was running those GoPro-like lenses on my Swift, and I've found that the new 2.1 lenses from Runcam, I prefer those actually. It's about the same field of view, and I don't notice any difference in image quality. The one big thing that I didn't like about the GoPro style lenses was they're just more fragile. They would I would end up with elements loose on the inside, and so you get jiggly footage, or it's just a lot more surface area to get hit and get scratched up and busted.
No one can survive the wrath of Stingy. You
No
can't
one
blame
can.
those lenses. He's like, I mean, you just fly into a cement wall at full speed and it didn't survive. Like, screw those.
Well, yeah, it's camera versus cement. I wonder who wins that battle. It's funny.
Let me ask you, since we're doing polls, because I saw that Skitzo had a Axie antenna with an SMA connector, and Stingy said he was using a Triumph. Did anybody run the little dipoles ever? I've been
Nope.
how often have you break those?
That's an Ion right there, VAS Ion in the tail of mine.
These are dum-dums.
Dum-dums?
I like the
Just put a little
dum-dums.
dum-dum sticker around it and it'll look just like a dum-dum. Same size.
Do those break on you at all? Because like they're hard mounted to the top. Do they ever bust the SMA?
I haven't busted the SMA, but I have this little the guy with the PCB board inside. I don't know how they work. I'm oblivious to. But sometimes if you hit them hard enough, this will freely spin and kind of terminate the connection. And you can still use it, but your reception is just not quite as good. But yeah, they do get damaged just like anything, but they're pretty resilient.
Yeah,
I've been using these little. Can you see it? The tiny little dipole.
Oh yeah.
I've heard a couple of pilots using those. Do you have any video issue on
No. So I use. I have a linear polarized patch from True RC. Wow, I can't believe I remember that name. And then I use just a rubber ducky as on the other side.
Okay.
And it works great. And I think my entire VTX and antenna weigh like 6.5 grams. And I have on my old rig. That might be the only piece that's still original on the old rig is the antenna. Like since you install this antenna, you never think about antennas again on your rig because there's nothing to break.
Yeah, see, on my RC end, I receive on a Mad Mushroom and a patch. So it weighs quite a bit, but you know what? I have to admit, the Mad Mushroom, you get such good clarity on it that I don't want to go any other way. Does anyone run anything other than an immersion patch on the receiving end?
I don't use a patch at all. I just use a Mad Mushroom. And that's it.
Just one? Do you just have a single receiver?
Yeah, I mean, I have a diversity receiver, but I just use one antenna. Just because I'm lazy. I'm seriously that lazy that when I'll kind of look in my bag and see the patch antenna, I'm just like, whatever. I don't want to screw it on, or when I break props, I'll grab a different quad. I'm like the laziest person in FPV that you'll ever meet.
I use a True RC bi-quad patch, which I can't recommend this True RC not True RC. Is it? Yeah, the Canadian one, the white ones.
Yeah.
Those are awesome. And then I've been using that and a Clearview lately a lot. And like the Clearview is just like it's one of those things you don't notice how great it is until you go back to regular receivers.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, what are these lines that go across the screen? Oh, that's how I used to live.
Yeah,
nice.
Really. That's the truth.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we don't want to keep you too much longer, but you guys have been phenomenal co-hosts, and thank you guys so much. We definitely want to keep the invitation open to have you guys return back on the show with us. Real quick, zip through, give us all of your social handles and YouTube.
Wait, before we get there.
Go on.
I do have one question to ask, and I'm sorry if it was asked while my computer took a crap and I was trying to reboot it. And this one comes from my buddy.
Running on that KK2 board.
Yes.
And you know what? The little push buttons have fallen off, so I gotta find something. Yeah.
Aren't those the ones that you did the pin tuning on the board itself?
Eddie Black.
Is he frozen again?
I think he's gone.
Pat.
This comes.
Hello,
Hello?
Pat.
Talk like this to me,
Hello?
doing this.
Yeah. I know. Scratching his head.
All right. I think I'm on. Well, I know what he's going to ask.
Go for it, Mike.
Can you hear me?
Our buddy Eddie Black, he now lives in Houston, and I know a couple of you guys have met him. I know that Kevin's met him anyway. But his question is, why do you guys fly? You know, what motivates you to do what you do in the hobby?
Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
Okay, I fly for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's like a major it's my biggest social thing. Like me and John, good friends, and that's just what we do to hang out. Is we get together and we go fly. So that's a big part of it, but I don't think that's the only part of it. I still fly because I just love flying. Ever since I was a kid, all I wanted to do was just be able to fly, and FPV is the closest I get to that. So I still sit there and like laying in bed at night, imagining flying around a spot or whatever. So it's just something I'm passionate about, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah, I think, you can see by Kevin's background that he's got guitars back there, and I play piano. We all have our different, outlets, right, to escape. And but none of them have captivated me this long, though. I think this is the longest hobby that I've held consistently. Like I always go in and out. Like I'm also into telescopes and stuff. I have all kinds of crazy telescope rigs.
Photography is unbelievable.
Oh,
John.
thank you.
Don't put yourself down.
Okay, all right,
Photography
whatever.
is rock solid.
But my point is I'm into that too. But like I'll kind of get into it for like 3 months, and then I'll put all my telescope equipment away and not touch it for like 3 years, and then pull it back out. I've never done that with FPV. It's the only one that I've like consistently. I'm always down. I'm always down to fly. Like Kevin will be like, "You want to fly?" I'm like, "Yes." And so
as Mike shows off his telescope.
Yeah, my 4.5-inch Orion right here.
There you go.
That's how you find the ladies. No, not the drone.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with stars. This is all about peeking in the next
Movie stars.
I'm not telling you though. Like I'm telling you, like it sounds super nerdy, but chicks dig it. I'm sorry.
They do. I can attest to that.
I've actually done that. I met like I tried the whole online dating thing, and actually this girl's like, "Hey, what do you like doing?" I literally responded with a photo of space that I took.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
She was like, what is that?
This is Uranus.
And I was like, no. Exactly. There's no need to explain the story anymore. We're just ending right there.
Yeah, that would do it.
Yeah.
I fly not for social reasons. I fly for the opposite. It's like therapy for me. It's super cathartic, and whenever I have even when I have a bad flying day, I come out of it with like a little bit of an afterglow. Like essentially, it's like the most out of body / good feeling experience I've had that wasn't drugs.
Yeah.
And so for me, like it's so out of body, and it takes you so far away from your thoughts, and like my brain's crazy. And so it sucks me out of like my day-to-day worried life, and it's a form, like as tacky as it sounds, it's like a form of meditation almost. Mm-hmm. Because you can completely get outside yourself, and like what some people do through music or through whatever craft they have, it's a form of pure expression while also not being trapped in your own head. And that sounds frou-frou and tacky, but like I fly because it feels good, and I can't do drugs anymore.
Sure.
not that we've done drugs.
No.
Well, I have.
And not that we promote doing drugs.
No, not at all. Stick to the adult beverages, kids.
And quads.
And quads, yeah.
Kool-Aid and quads.
Yeah, Kool-Aid and quads. That's
Also,
the way to do it.
Elsky digs it. I think she's been around for well over 1,000 flights of mine. So if I stopped flying, she'd lose her mind.
That's very true. Yeah, no, Bruno is the same way with me, so I totally empathize.
Well, that's great.
All right. Well, you guys have been an absolute blast to hang out with. Why don't you guys go ahead? We'll start with Gapit. Go ahead and share all of your social media outlets so that everyone can find you.
So mainly it's YouTube, which is just Elsky's awake, which is just Gapit FPV on YouTube. I also have an Instagram under the same name, and we also have a podcast called The FPV Show.
I was going to promote that.
URL is fpv.fm, and we're on episode 40. And we just it's growing.
Just an FYI, guys, it's not a PG show. However, for those adults in the room who are very FPV friendly, it is an amazing show. I am a religious listener. You guys need to pay attention. Hey, Elsky! I've been distracted by Gap's dog.
Oh, what's up, puppy?
Isn't she cute? Elsky, say hi. She goes, I am tired.
It looks like a horse.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead, Kevin.
You can basically find me if you type in a social media and put /Stingers Swarm, and that's Stingers with an S at the end, and then Swarm, so there's 2 S's in the middle there. You will find me. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, you name it, I'm there.
Fantastic.
Dude, I totally screwed up your Stinger Swarm when I posted online. Sorry.
Everyone
Two
does.
S's.
Everyone does.
Yeah.
And lastly, John.
Mine's the same as Kevin, Stingy Swarm. It's
just follow Stinger Swarm and you're good.
Hang on, let me reiterate. Stinger's Swarm.
Warm what?
Oh god. But anyway, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube / Skitzo FPV, one word. And then, of course, I mentioned to you guys earlier that I'm donating one of my airplanes to my local RC field to help fund open it because ours is getting shut down by the state. So we want a place to fly. So if you guys are interested in entering to win this awesome 106-inch 3D Hobby Shop Edge customized by me personally, go to ngmarc.com/donate.
And we'll have links in the description and in the show notes, guys. So please go ahead and support this. It's really amazing to help support local hobby outlets, including flying spots and flying fields. So Skitzo, we will definitely advocate for that, and we'll definitely pump that out as it comes through.
I'll be buying some
raffle
tickets
the zombie
for
plane?
that. Yes.
Yeah, I'm donating my zombie plane to a local
Oh
field
my
here.
god,
So
that thing is so dope. You guys want it.
Yeah, I want it really bad. I've seen it, so yeah. I've seen photos of it, so I definitely am going to get some raffle tickets for that.
Sweet.
Break it.
All right, guys. Well, you can find me, Joel Cannon, at babybrit_FPV on all the socials. I'm actively now posting every Monday on YouTube. So you can find my YouTubes at babybrit_FPV. Pat, you're up, buddy.
You can find me on Facebook, and I think I'm on Instagram. I don't know.
That's the best ever.
I don't know. I think I'm on there. I don't know. Don't care. Whatever, man. Patrick Sean Murphy. Flight Test Forum. I am Earth Language. That yeah, you won't find anything interesting on my YouTube channel unless you like to watch boring flying stuff.
Oh my god.
I'm
definitely going to watch this stuff now.
Other than that, hey.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's like, let me tell you, you definitely want to go to the dentist before looking at my channel because it's going to be more entertaining. All right. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, man, you didn't cut me off at all. I was enjoying that. Well, I'm Mike Finley. Everybody can find me at Mike Finley on Facebook, and then on all the rest of the socials, I am the Magic One. That's THEMAJIK and the number 1. And someday you'll know that story.
That's a cooler name than Baby Brit. I'm sorry.
Hey,
I'm just kidding.
There is a story behind mine.
Okay.
I'll tell you that later.
I feel like some people Google Baby Brit. Can it be a little risky? You know.
I know. I feel like people might show up something inappropriate.
Yeah.
I promise you guys, there's a story. I will tell it. But from all of us here, guys, you can find us at ftccpodcast.com. That's our website. You can find us on YouTube at FTCC Podcast. You can find us on the Instagram, the Facebook, the Twitter. We're not really on Twitter, so don't do that. But everywhere else you can find us. Guys, normally we would wish you guys blue skies, but we're going to actually end the show a little bit differently. Mike, you have one more thing before we go?
Yeah, I do. I do have one more thing I want to say. Is there's a number of people on the YouTube chat that are just saying thanks for coming on to Gapit, to Stinger, and to Skitzo. They really appreciate it, and I mean they love hearing from you guys. And hopefully we can get you guys on again because they really enjoyed it tonight. Of course. You know, side one. You guys are giving away hype trains so I can get my quad in the air? What? And there was no contest, so sorry guys, it's not happening.
No giveaways today, guys. But
yeah, if there was any free hype trains, they'd be coming this way.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree. Totally agree. But guys, normally we would end the show on blue skies, but tonight we're going to end it a little bit differently because of our good friend Crash Hancock. So guys, from all of us, go out there, build something, fly something, and enjoy this great RC hobby.